Jordan Mason has had his fair share of ups and downs. Monday Night Football, that was an up for sure, but it hasn't all been smooth sailing for the young running back. There are a couple of key pieces, however, that have been revealed that show that Monday Night Football was not a fluke. I can't wait to tell you about those later in the video. I'm also going to tell you the best thing I think Dominic Pooney has heard in his entire life. If you're new here, I'm Nate. Love talking the 49ers. Please consider a like and sub. Well, the headline today, of course, is that Christian McCaffrey is officially now on injured reserve. And we got to keep him healthy. And that makes sense. Keep him from doing something that could have long-term negative impacts with his fitness, right? If he has a long-term injury because we force him out there sooner than he's ready, then it's a problem. Now, 4 weeks off, probably best, because then you can just say, take 2 weeks, don't do anything, right? And let's just see how things progress if we just heal it. You know, inactivity is one of those things. But the next man up, J.P. Mason, he's been on a tear from training camp to preseason to Monday Night Football, where he carved up the New York Jets left, right, and center. And the good news is that it's not a fluke. I believe it was not a fluke, and I'm going to tell you why today in our video. I did some digging. I got a lot of things to say about Jordan Mason and how this was not a fluke, and this young man is going to go out there and continue to be a solid running back week in and week out. Comment below, though. Larry Krueger says, shelve CMC until Turkey Day. Just roll with Mason, Patrick Taylor Jr., and the very much hardly ever seen in football Isaac Guerrero for the next month. I'm interested in what your take is on that. Not because I don't like Larry Krueger. I very much respect his opinion. Most of the time, I agree with what Larry Krueger has to say. I think he has a few wild ideas sometimes. I don't necessarily agree with, but I for sure have a few wild ideas sometimes I'm sure he wouldn't agree with. But I'm interested in where you think Christian McCaffrey should come back. Obviously, we don't know how he's going to be feeling in 5 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. We don't know how he's going to be feeling leading up to what would be Thursday night against the Seahawks. That would be the next game he can technically come back and play. So do you throw him in there on a turf field on Thursday night against the Seattle Seahawks, or do you say, let's push him off one more week? And then you're looking at week 7, right? I don't know. Week 7 would put you mid-October, and so you're pretty much mid to late October almost, right? So you're pretty much at that point just saying we're not going to play Christian McCaffrey until late October, late-ish, almost late October. And you're a month away from Larry Krueger's, what I think might be a little bit of a crazy take. Now, I understand where Larry Krueger's coming from. If the 49ers can get by with these guys, and if every single week Jordan Mason looks like he did on Monday Night Football, then I see the argument for sure. But the other side of me is like, dude, if Christian McCaffrey's healthy, he has no off button. He has no limited reps. He has no slow play me in, coach. Put me in as an RB2, and I'll just take like 10 reps. He doesn't have that button. There's no button for him to make him do that. His mindset is go, go, go 100% constantly, and that's all he has. If anything, injured reserve's best value for the 49ers is that Christian McCaffrey can't do anything. Now he can't play. So that forces him to take things differently because he can't play. He can't go out there on a Sunday. So all of that being said, I'm interested to know. Let me know in the comments what you think about this take. If you are with Larry Krueger on this, I see the value, of course, if you can use him. If you don't have to use him until then, that would be amazing to have him coming in fresh for December, January, and most importantly, February. But, we'll have to wait and see, of course. We got to see what Jordan Mason can do. Let's talk about Jordan Mason, by the way. So Jordan Mason had incredible growth in the offseason. And he was asked over a month ago, I had to do some digging. He was asked over a month ago, what contributed to you having such an incredible training camp so far, Mr. Mason? Jordan Mason said that he hit the books hard. He was studying the playbook. And you'll understand why that's important in a few minutes here. He talked about nothing special in terms of off-season training. He didn't do anything. He didn't hire any physical trainers. He didn't, go work with other professional athletes, as some guys often do. He was out there on the field with his dad and his brother. You got to respect that, right? You got to respect a guy who goes out there and he's on the field practicing the same way he has his whole life with his dad and his brother. The only thing he did differently is he got a jug machine to work on pass catching and route running a little bit, and that was a good move, obviously. He talked about wanting to make sure that he could take over if needed for Christian McCaffrey. And look where we are now. Monday Night Football didn't get a ton of looks in the passing game, but you saw that he obviously, he took over for Christian McCaffrey, so that was in his mind. He was preparing for that day, and there it is. It's there. So over a month ago, Jordan Mason saying he's not worried about how many reps he would get. He's trusting the process. He's knowing that everything happens for a reason. And when that day would come, he said, quote, when that day comes, it would be the perfect time. And he was right. Monday Night Football was the perfect time. He was 100% right about that. So he hit the playbooks. He went out there and trained. He got a jugs machine so he could catch a football, right? There you go. Then something else happens. So Christian McCaffrey ends up on IR. Jordan Mason seeing a massive load in front of him. And how is he going to continue his improvement? How is he going to be good? Can he handle it? Well, this was really telling to me. If you're not familiar with Jordan Mason's struggle with Bobby T, listen to this clip from over a month ago on what Jordan Mason had to say about how he was getting along with Coach Turner.
I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that we started off on a downhill, we were not on good terms at all. And we just had to get it going. I had to learn his style. He had to learn my style. Well, he didn't really have to learn my style, but I had to learn his style. So, it just took me to growing up and getting in the system and actually learning just him. Just because, he's an old school coach. So you got to do things a certain way. And so it's just how I had to switch up.
So he had to toughen up. He had to learn Bobby Turner's system. He had to go to the old school way of doing things and figure out and learn how to do the old school way of doing things. He talked also, by the way, Jennifer Lee Chan asked him later in the interview, what was it that you were struggling with Bobby Turner? Why didn't you guys get along so well? And he talked about being essentially a bad student. He would get asked questions by Bobby Turner, and he didn't have an answer. So he was not studied. He was not ready mentally for what the coach had to do. And so when we see flashes of Jordan Mason, yet not able to get those RB2 reps over Elijah Mitchell, that makes a lot of sense. Kyle Shanahan has talked several times about how Jordan Mason's relationship with Coach Bobby T, how that's changed and evolved over time, and how he's learned to understand his coach. Now, there was one more thing. So we got the playbooks. We have learning Bobby T's way of doing things. That's important. We have going out there and he's just traditional off-season training with his dad and his brother. That doesn't really say much, I suppose, so I'll take that one off the list. And then we'll add in the jug machine, going out there and getting reps, catching the ball, right? But then there was this. This is what John Lynch said about Jordan Mason's offseason training. This is what got me hyped. This is what John Lynch said about Jordan Mason's offseason training on KMBR. He became a workout partner with Fred Warner and the linebackers, and you kind of tread carefully when you do that because you're either in or you're out. And when I'm up there in my office, I assume is what he means, I can always look out and I'd see those guys out there, and JP would be on his back a lot, and Fred and them standing there laughing. Fred and them are very competitive, and they allowed him in. And they said, only if you commit, and Jordan took himself to a higher level of conditioning. And we saw that the other day when JP was on his 28th carry and he looked as strong as he did on the first carry. I'm so proud of the young man because he put in the work, and now it's paying off. He's always been dependable, and now he's showing he can be an impact player. Let's go. If that doesn't hype you up about Jordan Mason and convince you that this guy's here to stay, that this guy is as good as he looked on Monday Night Football, and he's going to be as good as he looked on Monday Night Football going forward. No, that doesn't mean he's not going to have bad games. No, that doesn't mean he's not going to have games where he struggles to get his rhythm. That happens with every running back. But what it does mean is that what we saw Monday Night Football, firstly, I don't think it was a ceiling. Secondly, I don't think it was a fluke. Most importantly, it was not a fluke. I think that we're going to see this kind of play, and those kinds of flashes are going to be more regular and more consistent because of the work he put in. And I love it, man. I love it. This guy goes home, and he's just training with his dad and his brother like he's done his whole life. And he's turning into this guy right here. He's humble enough to admit he doesn't know the playbook well enough. He's humble enough to admit he doesn't jive really well with coach, but he's going to figure out how to do it. And now we're seeing the fruit of all of that labor when he's going out there and he's looking like a star running back. And how many guys, like guys who were there at training camp, reporters, David Lombardi, like these guys all saying the 49ers have the best running back room in the NFL. And they're really just talking about two guys, CMC and JP Mason. So I'm really, really hyped on JP Mason, if you can't tell. I'm super hyped. Now, that was not the only thing that John Lynch had to say on KNBR. He said this about Dominic Puni, which also got me incredibly hyped. Check it out.
I thought he was tremendous, and he's been, it wouldn't be fair to him to just say steady, because he's been more than steady. It was fun watching Trent's reaction. Trent isn't easily impressed, Trent Williams, and Trent came in and it was like, damn. He kept saying that, like, this kid, he really gets it. And I think he's got a calm about him, but then he's got some really, really, really good abilities, strength, movement, all of it. And we really liked him coming out of school, and part of it, like, he wasn't fazed by anything. He played all 5 positions at Kansas, and he did it well. But I would tell you, like, we've been even, like, you see things on film, and then there's guys who look even better in person. He's one of those guys. He's been better. I think our style, where a lot of people play laterally, and that's what a lot of systems who run the outside zone, we don't. We attack people with the offense line. We get out and run, and I think he's really bought in, and that lends to his aggressive style, and he's got a really good skill set. I give Chris Furster an incredible amount of credit for molding him. So I thought it was as good a game as our offensive line's played in a long time.
If I'm Dominic Puni, that's the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. General manager of the San Francisco 49ers, a team that just came off of a Super Bowl run, a team that is that good. Best roster in the NFL. And that's what my GM is saying about me in public, in front of everybody. That has got to feel good. And to hear what Trent is saying, I'm sure Dominic Puni's probably got guys saying good stuff behind the scenes that's more important to him than what's said on the radio. But my goodness, that's the best thing I've heard said about Dominic Puni. High praise from him, saying it wouldn't be fair to call him steady. He's been way more than steady. Trent Williams, not easily impressed. And Trent Williams, what? That's how Trent Williams is responding. So I'm all over it, guys. This is so exciting to have such an incredible right guard. I never thought I could be this excited about a right guard. Sorry. I mean, offensive linemen just always seem to disappoint, don't they? But not in this case. Dominic Puni is incredible, and I'm excited to see him continue to grow and hopefully maintain this consistency we've seen so far. Going to be hard for, college players transitioning to the NFL. They're playing a lot more games. Dominic Puni played in all the preseason games, fortunately with the ones, so he wasn't playing as many reps, but he was out there at times getting his reps in for sure. So, he's going to be tired this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if midway through the season we're seeing a little bit of drop-off, or, he needs to take a little bit of rest or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. But, guys, this is all very, very exciting to have that development coming on the offensive line. Even if the 49ers have to shut Christian McCaffrey down for a relatively prolonged period, this is according to Dave Lombardi, they stand to benefit from a fresh CMC down the stretch and into the playoffs when it really matters. That's the luxury of being able to take this approach because their roster is so good. Great take from David Lombardi. Another one from David Lombardi, similar frame of mind. 49ers are good and deep enough to treat the regular season like a top-tier NBA team, which is unusual since the NFL has so many fewer games, but it's all about the stretch run and the playoffs. One final take. This is from Coach Yak, by the way. The 49ers will beat the Vikings 31-16. I'm nervous to make claims like that, even though I believe it's 100% within the realms of possibility. It's actually likely. It's likely that this could happen. But there's just a part of me that's been beat by the Vikings so many times. It's hard for me to not feel like this is a trap game, so I can't go there personally, but I love the take because nothing that's said here is unrealistic. That's my favorite part about this take. So the predictions are 298 passing yards, 2 TDs for Brock Purdy. Jordan Mason, 115 yards rushing for 2 TDs. More realistic in terms of rushing yards. This seems good. This seems realistic to me. Deebo, 85 total yards. Kittle, 80 yards and a TD. Brandon Aiyuk, 110 yards and a TD. That would be special. That would be special. And then Demo with an interception and Bosa with a couple sacks on the defensive side. So is that possible? That is 100% possible. That is so incredibly realistically possible against this Minnesota Vikings team who was picked before the season to start to win like 6 or 7 games, you know? Yeah, they won, and they had a big win against the New York Giants. We're all very proud of you, Minnesota Vikings. I'm coming for you, Jamie. You know who I'm talking to. I had to call someone out there. It's one of my buddies, diehard Vikings fan, which to be a diehard Vikings fan, you got to give them a little bit of credit. They've been through a lot. But we don't feel bad for you. Not this week. We don't. 49ers have a lot to prove. I'm excited for it. We're one day away. I'll be watching the game late, so I'll be putting out a video at some point later tomorrow night talking about the game and just, hopefully figuring out something useful to talk about apart from just what everybody else out there is talking about. I want to give you some value out there, not just say the same things that everybody else is saying. So, feel free to let me know in the comments what you think about that. But that's just what I want to do. I'm excited for it, and I look forward to talking to you later, joining you in the comments, all that good stuff. As always, faithful, what a time to be alive.